I'm Valdine, and I just wanted to thank you for placing your order. I want you to have the best experience that you can. So let's get started. So when you receive your makeup, it's going to come, all your little tins are going to come in a little cute little pouch like this, maybe 1 or 2 pouches. Every tin is individual, and they open up like this. So I would suggest keep some of the lids, because the lids are great for popping the tins out of your palette, either when you're done or if you want to move things around, or if you eventually get more than one palette and you want like a travel palette and a stay-at-home palette, but it's nice to keep some of the lids. It's also great for if you ordered some of the lip and cheek. You can just pop it into your pocket or your purse if you keep some of the lids. Everything is magnetic and they're going to stick in your palette and not fall out. So the palettes come in different sizes, and this is the one I've got to show you today. All the palettes have a mirror so that you can do your makeup in your palette, especially if you're on the go. And some come with several layers in case you have more things, you want all the things like me, or you could keep your creams on one side and your powders, as in your eyeshadows, on the other side. So all the tins fit in nicely, and they just stick in and they're not going to fall out, which is awesome and super convenient. So before putting on your Seint cream makeup, make sure your skin is clean and nice and moist. If you got the Seint creme, that's perfect. It's very creamy and moisturizer without being oily. Or if you have your own favorite moisturizer, certainly use that. We only suggest that you don't use something with silicone in it, because the cream makeup just doesn't suit well with the silicone base in a moisturizer. So anything oil-based or water-based is perfect. So you can either apply the makeup with your fingers or with brushes. So I'm going to show you with my fingers today because I can get exact placement, and that way you can see and learn so you can practice on yourself. So I always start with my contour. I like to create a little bit of a roadmap of where I'm going. So you don't need a lot. You don't need to scoop. This makeup is very heavily pigmented, so you only need a little bit and only one layer, and then you blend it out. And if you find you want more, you can add more. If you've gotten too much, you can keep blending to take it away, but you don't need a lot, and a little goes a long way. So the contour, you don't want to put it too low. You want to create a shadow and raise that cheekbone a little bit. So you feel where your cheekbone is, start at the hairline and go forward, and not too far down and not too far forward. So kind of where the brow ends there. And then we'll do the other side. And you're creating a shadow, which we will blend out, and you can already see how the shadow is created. And then you can put a little bit on either side of the nose, not too far to the side, but you're just creating a bit of a shadow again to thin the nose, and I'll show you what the little trick that we do with that in a little bit. Anything left over on your finger, watch how you create a little pout under the lip. Create an instant little lip pout, and you can put some at the hairline too. Now, if you have a really high forehead, you might want to put it even darker, and it just creates that shadow. You really want to draw the eye toward the center of your face. So we're creating those shadows in the contour to keep that 3 dimension in our face. We don't want to put a 1-dimensional foundation on our face just to flatten it out. We want to keep all the little curves and add some if we don't have them. Another place you can put the contour is just along the jawline, just to create a little bit of that snatched jaw. And again, we will blend it out, so don't worry, but it adds a little bit of that chiseled look that maybe is disappearing, or maybe we never had. In my case, never had. So next we're using the brightening highlight. All our things, what you would normally think of as concealer is the brightening highlight. What you would normally think of as foundation is our main highlight. We call them highlights. And these are the ones that are more skin tone. So the brightening highlight is a couple of shades lighter than your natural skin tone. And there we put it in the center of the eye, just to brighten. On the outside of the eye, not in the wrinkly area, or the lines area, a little bit further. You might have noticed, depending on your age, you might have noticed that we're losing a little bit of dimension in the temple area. So this brightens it and brings it out a little bit more. And then we like to brighten the center, down the center of the face. So you're putting it in the center of your forehead, between these 2 lines, tip of the nose, right through the center to create brightness and add to that 3D effect Okay, so that's the brightener. If you have any other places you want to draw more attention to or brighten, you can certainly do that as well. We don't want to put anything right underneath our eye. That's where all the teeny tiny little fine lines are, and our skin is very thin there. So once we start to blend, we'll blend it over, and that way it's not a thick layer underneath our eyes. Now we're doing the main highlight. So that is the one that's closest to your skin color, maybe just a touch darker. We don't want to go too light with our main highlight. It makes us look washed out. It will accentuate the fine lines and wrinkles. We want to go a little bit darker, a little bit more tan, and then just make sure we blend really nicely. So we'll do the main highlight, and that we're really just filling in all the gaps of the areas that we haven't already put makeup. You can also already do your cheeks in this stage as well, certainly can. There's no right or wrong for this. I'm just showing you, I'll add the cheeks later, but I'm just showing you the main colors at this point. Mid-season, if you're changing from summer to winter and you're kind of that mid color, you might have several different colors of main highlights, and you can use both and alternate just between the seasons as well. Some people are usually quite light in the winter and dark in the summer, depending on where you live, which is the case for me. Now it's time to blend, and depending on the brush, depends on the coverage that you get. So a lighter, floofier brush will give you a lighter coverage. If you'd like a more heavy coverage, a more full coverage makeup, then you would use a denser brush, something like this. And so I'm gonna kind of go half and half and use the 3D brush. It also has a nice narrow end that I can use for the inner and outer corners of my eyes. Our Seint brushes are designed to work with our makeup, so the makeup stays on your face and not so much on your brush. Now you see how I'm just blending across underneath my eye because I didn't put a lot of heavy makeup underneath there because I really don't want to have it caked under there. So I'm doing my other eye. And now I'm going to flip to this side to do the rest of my face. You'll see as I blend, it starts to create a little bit of an airbrushed look. You're really wanting to stipple and push the product into your skin instead of pulling and moving it around. Cream makeup loves to move with our skin, so it won't be sinking into the fine lines and wrinkles like perhaps liquid or powder foundation will do. Now when you're blending at the jawline, you want to blend in and down. So you're blending that contour and creating that jawline and not having a defined line. And when you're blending at the cheekbone, you want to blend in and up. We don't want to pull. Gravity does enough pulling down, so we want to make sure that we don't add to that. And we'll blend it out a little bit more once we do our lip and cheek as well. So we're just blending out this line and creating that shadow and contour. Now cream makeup, you always want to set it. So either with a setting powder or a setting spray. It's a beautiful Featherlight powder. It doesn't change the color or anything, but it will set the makeup. So you can wear it all day long. Now on to lip and cheek. I like to line my lips, and we have a beautiful suede lip liner, although you can use any color. You can use a pencil if you have your favorite lip liner at home, or you can use any of your lip and cheek colors to line as well. If you want to make your lips look a little fuller, you line a little bit on the outside of the lips. Then you take your lip color and you can either use a brush or your fingers. And for your cheeks, whether you bought one color or more than one color, you would do it just above where the shadow that you created for the contour. I always start at the back, and I always start with my darker color at the back as you're kind of working with that contour that you've created, helping create that shadow. And then if you have a lighter color, you can put it a little bit further to the front. Don't go too close to the front. You want to kind of go as far as the base of your eye is, and then you can blend it forward with the brush while you're blending. That way you're not having too much right at the very front. And then again, the darker color at the back. And then we'll blend. And if you find it's too dark, just keep blending, blend it out. Again, they're highly pigmented, so they're not going to look as dark on your face as they do in the palette. Now we move on to eyes. So I just applied my favorite mascara, and I did my brows with actually the same color as the contour. It's a great match. And if you don't have one, Seint has a really great line brush that you can use for your brows. So now on to eyes. If you got the eyeshadow, again, they're in great little magnetic pods, and you can put them all in this. It's so handy for traveling. I can't even tell you. It's like everything's all in one except for your mascara. So can't be beat. So the eyeshadows, I just have a variety of eyeshadows, and you can do them however you wish if you have your favorite way of applying. And I always just use the lightest one first, up at the top, and in the center. Keep that glow going in the lighter areas. Then I take the next sort of a medium color, and actually if you don't want to blow, there is a little, it's kind of a little gritty matte that you can use to dab off your eyeshadow. And then I put the medium color in the center at the crease to create a shadow. You see the difference? And then go slightly darker. Create a little 7 or backward 7. Blend it out. And then do the other side. So a couple of really fun little accessory makeup tools that you may or may not have ordered, but I wanted to show you is the bronzer and the illuminator, something to perk up our face a little bit more as a final touch. The bronzer is really anywhere that the sun would kiss your face, a little bit on the top of your nose, a little bit on the top of the cheeks, and it's quite sheer. It looks dark. This is my favorite, it's Bella Bronzer, but there's a lot of different choices. And then it blends out really nicely. And just adds a little bit of color, freshens you up a little bit, especially in the winter when we don't get a lot of color. At least up in Canada, we don't. And lastly, we have the illuminator. Now that comes in a lot of different shades depending on your shade, or if you're warm or cool, if you like more of a pop or something more subtle. This is rose gold, and I love to just put a little bit more of that brightness on my face. You can add a little bit of that sheen back in. Top of the cheeks. And it just adds that fresh, filtered look. And that is it for your main palette. So if you have any other questions, or if you've ordered any other things that I did not touch on, please reach back to me and ask whatever questions you have, and I would be happy to answer you. And thanks again for placing your order, and I'm so excited you get to experience this fun, wonderful, effective, beautiful makeup palette. And let me know when you get your product. Can't wait to hear from you.